Welcome to SciGist, your fortnightly science from the Bioeconomy Science Institute.
Kia ora. I'm Dion Mundy, and thank you for joining us for another SciGist podcast in the Science Life for Me series. Today, Pauline is joining us in Tasman to talk about her time at the Bioeconomy Science Institute with a special focus on berry fruit breeding. We'll talk about what she does as a berry fruit breeder and how Pauline's path has ended up in this job here. So, Pauline, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Kia ora. I started at the Bioeconomy Institute in January 25 last year, looking after the berry breeding program. And before that, I was a squash breeder, still in New Zealand. And before that, I was looking after berry fruit development in Europe.
So squash, that's pumpkins and what's sometimes called winter squash?
Yes, exactly. Butternut, buttercup squash here in New Zealand, grey pumpkins. We have also orange pumpkin, very popular in Europe. And we had a lot of Asian pumpkins as well. It's very popular crops here.
I didn't know about Asian pumpkins, so that's interesting. And are they mainly for the flesh or for seed or...?
For seeds, we have 3 species in cucurbita that encompass summer squash and winter squash. The cucurbita pepo is like the courgette / zucchini.
Oh yeah, I like those.
Yes. And also there is one variety that is bred specifically for seeds. The seeds of that variety doesn't have a seed coat, so you can eat the seeds. That's when we buy pumpkin seeds. That seed is from cucurbita pepo. And me, I was focused on cucurbita moschata, so that is a butternut squash. More in Australia, we have Kent pumpkin. That's also the same family, and all the Asian types are also cucurbita moschata, big pumpkins, green, most of them. And then we have cucurbita maxima. Those are less adapted to tropical condition because the cucurbita moschata are for tropical condition. So, South Africa, Mexico, Asia, Australia, those countries are for cucurbita moschata, and cucurbita maxima, they are more like Northern Europe, more temperate climate, and those are the buttercup squash, the Hokkaido pumpkin, or orange pumpkin like we have in Europe, very popular, and the Hubbard squash, not so consumed anymore, but more land races and things like this. So. Grey pumpkin, very popular in New Zealand and Australia.
Yes. We just harvested our grey pumpkins at home as they were just starting to climb up the kiwi fruit vines. Yes. And that will be our pumpkin soup through the winter until our asparagus comes on.
Yes. Pumpkins, they are a very, very nice crop to work with. Totally how you say?
Underrated?
Yeah, underrated. It's a fantastic crop. It's flavorful, very nutritious. If you are looking for your carbs and things like this, pumpkin is a crop to go instead of potatoes.
Yes, I have to be a little careful there as a diabetic, but I do like the taste.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you've come from pumpkins. Before that, was it Driscoll for
Correct.
Berry fruit in Europe?
Yeah,
Tell us
correct.
a little bit about working for a large company specialising in berry fruit.
Yeah, Driscoll's is like the biggest berry company in the world. One can challenge me because there are new companies that are challenging Driscoll's supremacy globally. But Driscoll's, they breed, produce the plants, give the plants to grower produce the fruit for them, and Driscoll's market the fruit of strawberry, raspberry, blackberry, and blueberries. And my role in all of this, I was working closely with the breeders based in the USA, Driscoll's being an American company, the headquarters is in California. And they would send early stages to us, and we would plant them in our test plots, see if they were adapted to our local condition, record lots of data on them, and make decision what goes to growers' trials, manage these grower trials, and then together with the commercial team, we make decision what becomes commercial variety.
So the complete package from making the plant available through to supporting it being able to be commercialized.
Yeah, exactly.
And then eventually that product going out and having the name on it.
Yeah, exactly. So that was very interesting work.
And working with a very large team there?
Yes, it's a very big company, and the R&D department was incredible with a lot of capabilities. We had many breeders also because there were many breeding programs, so that was very exciting to see the different genetics coming from the different breeding program. And there was also a big team called Applied Research that supports growers and takes varieties that are pre-commercial level to commercial to help grower to optimize the growing of these varieties. So they do a lot of trials on plant density and how you get the best out of the genetic, basically. So that was super cool.
Does that sometimes involve planting berries where they may not have been planted in the past?
Yes, sometimes we had to do that, like going to new areas, which genetics would suit the best this new area.
My family used to grow black currants, and they did that in 1978 after getting potato nematodes. So they suddenly had to change from growing spuds to growing black currants, and it was a big learning for them. And it was really important, the support they got in those days from Lincoln College before it was Lincoln University. Yeah. So I know how important it is to have the science that helps growers adapt to new crops.
Definitely. It's very important to have continuity from the breeder to the extension, I guess you can call it that, to the grower, so that all the knowledge that is accumulated within breeding gets transferred to growers as well, so that they understand better the genetics.
So obviously great opportunities where you were there, particularly in the US. What brought you to New Zealand and to the Bioeconomy Science Institute?
In my job there, I was not designing crosses myself, and I always wanted to become a breeder since I went to do, during my studies, we had to do work placements. And I did a work placement in Corsica, which is a beautiful French island in the middle of the Mediterranean. And in that place, we were breeding citrus, and it was my first encounter with breeding. And I thought that was a really cool job because the breeder was going to visit trials everywhere. It was very interesting doing science and designing crosses and looking at various different science projects. And I thought, I think that's what I want to do. So I wanted to become a breeder. And when I was working at Driscoll's, I was not involved in all the decisions, how you design the crosses and things like this. So I started looking for opportunities for a breeder position, and I found one in New Zealand.
So you wanted to be more hands-on with the science?
Yes, and make at the design and create, because that's the really cool thing with breeding is that you have a part of creativity that is based on science but also based on experience, looking at plants, visiting growers' trials. Your mind is always ticking with what you see, and then you use that knowledge to translate into different crosses that you want to do and early selection to have the vision on what can become a new variety.
And I suppose you also have to look out for the unexpected, those odd things that pop up and have, it's not a problem, but in fact, what opportunity does that present?
Exactly. And sometimes you get outliers, and that's really exciting, or strange things that happen when you cross different things and you don't understand. And every time you learn new things, so I love that It's a very varied job to be a breeder. You do a lot of different things. You communicate with lots of different departments. It's really enriching.
So here in New Zealand with the Bioeconomy Science Institute, which berry crops are you working on?
We have 2 programs. We have one program focused on blueberries and one program focused on rubus, which encompasses raspberries, blackberry, and boysenberries.
I know more probably about blueberries because I have some at home, some high bush, and those crops are probably not the large horticultural crops in New Zealand. So is there a single client for the work, or how does it work? How does a berry breeder plan their day, their year, their months, these sorts of things?
So we have a commercial partner in Venture Fruit who are part of Turner and Growers. So we develop varieties, and when they become pre-commercial, Venture Fruit takes them and they will test them with growers. So we do all the designing, the crosses, selecting seedlings, and then doing trials to understand the flavor, the storage, the yield, and things like this. And when we have candidates that could become new varieties, Venture Fruit then takes them out to growers to test them in real life situation.
So obviously you work closely with Venture Fruit as a partner. You have goals of a breeding program, flavour, size, shelf life. How do you take those goals and make them a reality? What is the sort of process for breeding?
So Venture Fruit comes to us with product models. So let's say they want to have a new variety for their growers in the UK, then we have to understand the growing production system and the issues they may have in the UK. For instance, the berry needs to travel a lot or store very well, or it needs to have that much yield. So we take this data into consideration when we do our selection. So we also need to understand about the timing of varieties. It's very important if they want earliness or lateness or mid-season. So we have this product model, we take them into our breeding, and when we design our crosses, we try to have the best of 2 worlds. One comes from the mother and the other one comes from the father. So for instance, we will have mothers with very high yield and the father will give the good storage. So we cross them together and we do lots of different crosses. So one can have yield plus storage, one can have yield and flavor, one can have storage and flavor when the yield is not crazy, but if the flavor is really outstanding, then we may have candidates there, things like this. And then we do these crosses and then we end up with a population of thousands of seedlings that we have to assess to decide which of these seedlings may become a new variety. So we walk the seedlings throughout the season to find out the early one and the late one and the mid-season one. We taste them. All of them are tasted to see the best tasting one. We also look at the plant architecture. If the plant is too droopy, it's not very convenient for a grower. So we want some nice upright plants, good vigor. We look at the yield potential on the plant. If there are only 3 fruits, it's never going to be commercial. So we want good yields. We look at the fruit appearance. Needs to have, for blueberries, a good bloom, good color, the size, how firm it is, we can feel it, and when we eat it, the texture for blueberry is very important. And in raspberries, the flavor is very important.
And for raspberries, also the colour, because I've seen a range of colours.
Definitely, yes. If the fruit is too dark, in storage it will become even darker, and that's not attractive, so we want a lighter color fruit.
And all of the berries that you work with, are they hand-picked? Or?
Yes, everything is hand-picked in our program.
So they need to be able to be firm enough to pick, to present nicely. My first job while I was still at school, was picking raspberries in Christchurch, and I was short, so I was able to get in underneath and pick raspberries. So I got sent behind everyone else to get the ones that they missed. And I remember some raspberries hang nicely and they're easy to pick, and others you've got to scrummage around in the prickles.
Absolutely. It's a very important topic here because raspberries, some varieties, they can have lots of berries, but small ones. And to pick, it's not efficient at all. To have lots of small fruit to pick, it's not efficient. It's better to have fewer fruits, but big one. It's a lot more efficient. And as you say, the presentation of the fruit, if it's buried in the canopy, is very difficult to harvest. So harvesting time costs money. So we want to be as efficient as possible to harvest, for sure.
Thinking about blueberries in the same way, we have about 50 bushes at home, and my family hates the multiple passes through to pick them.
Yeah.
So is synchronizing the fruit development, is that one thing that you look for as well?
Definitely. Also because we know that picking probably for fresh market, because we have two markets. Processing, which we are not focused so much on, because like the fruit gets picked by the machine and then it gets frozen and is sold as frozen fruit. That's not the core of our program. We want to sell the product fresh, but to pick it with a machine for fresh market is a very complicated task because the fruit gets smashed and then it still needs to look beautiful and taste amazing and store very well. But that's something that we are looking into, that we will have in the future varieties where you do 1 or 2 passes with the machine and you can sell all of that fruit fresh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Something to look forward to.
Yeah.
I'm also a plant pathologist, so I'm always interested to see what the breeding teams are doing for disease resistance, because that gives us an opportunity to reduce inputs into the system and just make the plants and the fruit healthier and therefore easier for the growers. Is that something else that you look at in the berry program?
Definitely, like pest and disease resistance and abiotic stress resistance are also big topics. We do not have a specific project at the moment focusing on this actively because we deal with global programs. So if there is a specific pest and disease in Australia, it may not be the same as the one in Spain, for instance. So.
Yeah. But some of the abiotic stresses might be, so whether they're drought tolerant or they can handle a heavy rain without splitting, or so that's what you mean by abiotic stress?
Yeah, definitely, yes. Like how we grow our plants is on the lower input side of things. So our plants, they are not necessarily grown like in commercial growers. Where growers, they will spray a lot of product to make sure everything looks pristine. Us, we want to see a little bit of pressure because then we want to select the best out of it. So, yeah.
I get it, because I work with the wine industry, sometimes I get told that, you take a pathologist into a vineyard and they're looking for disease. And I say, no, I'm looking for a clean vineyard, one without disease. That's much more interesting to me. And you might make your plants struggle a little bit, but you're looking for the ones that survive and do well when the conditions are not perfect.
Exactly, yes. Resilient varieties and varieties that are able to adapt globally, that's definitely our goal, because it would be a game changer to have a variety that works everywhere very well. That would be awesome. Often it's not the case because our varieties is a species that is sensitive to day length and temperature for yield. So a variety that is bred here, for instance, you cannot grow it in Peru, which is a big market area of production for blueberries, because of the day length difference and the growing degree days. So in Peru, it can be like relatively hot and dry. Here, it's like cool and humid. So stuff that is bred here, it's not going to be adapted well in Peru. But if we can have varieties that can perform well in the same range of latitude and climate as we have here, it would be awesome.
So the more you understand about the material, how it responds, you can better predict how those varieties will grow in similar climates elsewhere.
Absolutely, yes.
That's amazing. I always find it intriguing talking to my colleagues that work in different disciplines, because we look at many of the same things, but we are also looking at them from different knowledge. I often have to deal with the genetics that I have and how can we manipulate the environment to be more conducive for the plant rather than the disease.
Yeah, and us, in a way, it's the other way around. We need genetics that adapt to all sorts of climate because it's harder to control the climate, right?
Yes.
Especially when it's changing so much so rapidly. It's really a challenge.
So you're based here in Tasman. This is where the breeding programs are. What's it like working in a region as opposed to a big city or other centre? Are you close to the growers? What are the advantages of being here?
Well, for Tasman, it's a beautiful region, I think. So I feel very privileged to be here. And the Bioeconomy Science Institute site here, it's multidisciplinary with several breeding programs. So us, we are the berry breeding, but we also have pear breeding and hop breeding. And some of the apple breeding is also done here, and kiwi fruit breeding. So it's really awesome to be able to exchange with different breeders for different crops, different topics, different challenges, different opportunities. It's really enriching to be in that sort of environment, very diverse.
And I hope it provides you with a wider range of tasters for when you need to do those berry tasting sessions.
Definitely, yes. And it's nice to have everyone on board because they understand how critical it is to do this test panel. We do a lot of test panels throughout the season. Every week we have to test lots and lots of different genetics. So it's awesome when your colleagues understand and they are able to write the right feedback for us to make decision about the taste of different varieties, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Having people that understand what you're looking for and being able to use the same terms, the same information that you need in their feedback is amazing. I work in a region as well, in a multidisciplinary team, but sometimes it can be a little hard being the only pathologist there. You've got colleagues around you, and so you find that really a big plus of working here?
Definitely, yes. And also, it's not small site here. We are like 50, 60 people here. So it's awesome to have lots of colleagues around. In my previous job, we were a small team because I was working for a Dutch company. So the headquarters was based in the Netherlands, and New Zealand was the smallest R&D station of the whole company. So we were 12 hours ahead of our colleagues back in Europe. Very small team. So it was always very difficult to connect with colleagues that were overseas. It was a conscious effort to connect because it was in our evenings most of the time. And when you do not have in the same room people, sometimes it's not that easy. But here it's amazing to have people. You can just go to the next door office and chat. It's really, really good.
And in those corridor meetings or those morning tea or lunchtime discussions that spark new ideas. And
absolutely, yes. Yeah. And meeting people like you as well, you know, like you come to our site from time to time. It's nice to have these chats.
So that is something about the Bioeconomy Science Institute. We are all over New Zealand, I believe from Invercargill to Kerikeri. Is it also having a wider range of colleagues that you can call on as well? how do you use that system to help you with your work?
It's incredible, the capabilities at the Bioscience Institute. I am amazed by the level of the scientists that I work with every day. It's really impressive. And we have also in the berries, compared to the big apple and kiwi fruit crop at the BSI, we are a little bit the newcomer, new kid on the block, because a lot of research has been done in apples and kiwi fruit, and we are going to benefit from that research also for our berries, So that's also is awesome.
Does that mean that some of the markers or some of the techniques that other breeders have used in the past are now available to you for your programs?
Yes, and the knowledge that has been accumulated over the years for other fruit can also benefit us, and all the techniques and things like this.
And I assume also the fact that we have orchard staff that know how to grow things, and orchards around the country, if you needed to try varieties in slightly different climates, other than the wonderful climate we have here in Tasman.
Yeah, definitely. We have trials from Kerikeri to Clyde. So, yeah, different climates to see the potential of different genetics.
So we've got that regional, and I assume, because when I drive around here, I see berry fruit, that there is a local industry. There are growers that you can interact with, but you've also got that connection across the whole of the country. How do you continue to connect internationally with your peers, with those potential contacts that you might need for taking your program to the whole world?
Luckily for us, we work very, very closely with Venture Fruit, who has a big network overseas, so that helps us a lot to connect with overseas growers. We have open days. So during the open days, we invite growers that Venture Fruit has in their network overseas. They come here to visit the program, and we can make these contacts. And personally, I connect often on LinkedIn because I follow a number of pages on LinkedIn. So I love to see what's happening in the industry with competitors, partners, other scientists in the same field as me, and see what they are up to. It's really cool because often you see papers they have published, new research they are doing. So for me, it's a good source of information.
I must admit that I'm spending more time on LinkedIn, not just seeing what other people are doing and finding out what the bioeconomy science is doing, because I didn't know what the Scion group was doing on biofuels and things like that, but also just trying to put out a little bit more of what we're doing and some of the partnerships and the science that we're doing, because it is a one way to stay internationally linked when it's not always so easy to just go and visit people.
Definitely, yes.
You're a whole person. You don't just live for work. What other things do you like to do in the non-work time when you're not breeding your next great berry fruit?
I chose this career because I love being in contact with plants and nature. So I love hiking and going for walks in nature. That's very important for me. And that's why I love my job as a breeder, because it's such a mix of different things. We have meetings, of course. Who doesn't have meetings nowadays with our colleagues? But also a big part is being out there, looking at plants, walking the crop, visiting growers. The human and plant interaction, I really like it. And in my personal time, I do like, and Tasman is such a beautiful region. You can go for swims on amazing beaches. You have forest, hikes on the hills, bushwalks, lots and lots of things to do for outdoorsy stuff, which is perfect. And I do a lot of yoga as well. That's my little thing to reconnect. Yes, relax and reconnect after work.
Oh, that's great. Because I find most of the scientists that I come across, they're doing science because they love doing the science, but they do have a life outside of science. And so many of the people here in the Tasman area, it is the outdoors. It's the things that you can do after work as well that make it a great place to be based. But also the people. And
Definitely.
I know whenever I visit the site here, there's always fruit, quite often berry fruit, which is quite nice, but also apples and pears, and just the richness of horticulture in the region as well always sings to me as a grower's son. What would your advice be to a young person thinking about science, particularly biological sciences, if they're interested in finding out more? You talked about going and having a look when you and deciding to be a breeder. What sort of opportunities are there for people?
During the studies, often you have to complete internships or work placement or things like this. Those things, it's very important to test them before you decide you want to do your career. It's the same with if you're considering to do a PhD. It's quite good to look at different things before you actually choose them so that you are sure that you like them. But that's my personal view on things. I'm like that.
Yeah. We're having the same thing at the moment. My oldest daughter is year 13 and she's trying to decide what she wants to do next year, and we just keep saying, go and have a look.
Yeah.
What do you enjoy?
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to ask people. Scientists tend to be really keen to share about their passions.
Definitely, and there are so many jobs that most people don't know about, and that's like the beauty, like plant breeders. How many people know that there are plant breeders out there? It's like super niche. And even if you know about plant breeding, some people don't understand what it entails, this job. It's not only computer stuff, it's also a lot of outdoor work and a lot of different knowledge that you need to have on lots of different things. And that makes the work super interesting. And how many other niche stuff is there out there,
So I know you said that you wanted to be doing the hands-on, but your title is team leader. How are you finding the leadership, the having a group of people around you?
It's amazing. I'm so fortunate with our team. Everybody is extremely dedicated, trying to do their best, and kind. Those are kind people, because it's not always easy to start a new job, meet new people, and also how you fit within a team. So I really enjoy interacting with all the team, and in that role, I have the privilege of kind of steering the boat a little bit, and setting the directions where we want to go. And I think it's a great privilege to be able to do that and have the trust of everybody to be able to accomplish this role.
I can tell just how passionate you are, and it's been great sitting down and having a chat about this and how you came to be here and what you're doing now. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners today about being a plant breeder or coming to New Zealand?
Both are, I feel very privileged to be able to do both, my dream job and living in such a beautiful country as New Zealand. With everything that's going on in the world, New Zealand is such a safe place with lots of kind people, a relaxed atmosphere. I cannot be grateful enough for having the opportunity to being here and doing what I do.
Well, thank you. I've really enjoyed our time, and also the sharing that you've openly told us about your life and how you ended up here.
Thank you, Dion.
And thank you out there, our listeners. Please check out the SciGest pages for extra links and the topics covered here, and to see a full catalogue of our other podcasts. Please subscribe or follow this channel on your favourite method of getting podcasts and help us grow our network as well. See you later. Look forward to catching up with you again next time. Thank you.